ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरोन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोस्तुते। सप्तकांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते रघुनाथ स्वामी नामिने। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Hare Krishna. So, I think there are still some devotees who will be joining along the way. So, meanwhile, I have a small request. Actually, almost all of you have your video off. So, actually, for me, when I look at the screen, I just feel I'm talking to a wall. So, I attended a couple of courses actually, and the teacher there scolded all the students, saying, how can you just shut off when the teacher is speaking? So I took courage from that, and I thought I will try with my students and see whether they listen. So of course I understand that Hare Krishna Gangotri Madhavi. Nice to see you. So of course I understand some of you may be in an odd position and all that. So I leave it to your discretion. This is not jabardasti, but I think we connect well when we see each other also. So if you are actually sitting in front of a screen and your hair is not in a zombie fashion, and you are dressed and not in the toilet, then you can turn the video on. So this is my request. So if today you feel that you are not in that position, then my request will be to try to be in a position that you can turn your video on. That is my request. Okay. So I hope all of you have had a wonderful Janmashtami and Prabhupada appearance day celebration. It was a wonderful celebration and also an intense bout of fasting. Janmashtami followed by Prabhupada appearance day. So if any of you did for the first time, then I hope you had a good experience. Anyone did for the first time this year fasting? Yes, Bhaskar, wonderful. Very good.
Very cool, Prabhuji.
Very good, very good. Yeah. So so that's nice. So it was wonderful festivity also. Yesterday was Srila Prabhupada's 125th appearance day. Actually, there were so many wonderful events which happened yesterday also. Some of the articles I have been posting, so I'm not going to be talking about all that. So do look up. There are, the beautiful birthplace of Srila Prabhupada has been acquired by ISKCON to develop it as a Tirtha, the place, the tree under which Srila Prabhupada was born, jackfruit tree in Calcutta. So they are developing a nice Tirtha Kshetra there. Also the place where Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati the first time on the terrace of the Gaudiya Mutt. That has also been acquired by ISKCON. And on these acquisitions, some of these acquisitions are not so simple and straightforward because it's not just about throwing money. It's like something like they had to vacate 57 tenants at Prabhupada's birthplace, and negotiate with them and all that. So it's not easy. So these places are going to be great places of Tirtha, which will be a great source of inspiration for generations to come. Our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, I hope many of you were able to see the video. How many of you were able to see the video? You can raise your hands. You don't have to speak up. I hope you know that within Zoom, there is a reactions box. Yes, Gangotri Mataji, there is a, yeah, of course, the raise hand usually stays up until you lower the hand again. So what you can do when I ask a question, there is a yes and no also. There is a tick and a cross. Yeah, otherwise, you can always use the thumbs up option as well. So at least, you don't have to unmute and shout out and, I mean, if you do that, I have no problem. But if that's a bit inconvenient, you can do that. So how many of you saw the program live or recording? Nameshwar Savalapur. Yes, Shalini ji. Okay. Okay, Archana Ji, Mataji. Good, good. So I was also saying I was actually outside doing something, but as I was walking on the street, I was listening. So it was very nice. Of course, we are fortunate, that we have a prime minister who is also well versed in spiritual subject matter. That is a great fortune. I mean, after again, I don't mean to particularly take any political sides. Of course, even though I have my own, political leanings, that apart. But the first time in the history of India, we have a prime minister who actually knows scriptures, who has been a sadhaka, a serious sadhaka of spirituality. And, not only has he dedicated his life to the country and spiritual cultivation, you can also see how, he's showing an excellent example of detachment. Of course, all of this is, my analysis and my perception. So some of you may disagree. That's okay. This is again not a Bhagavad Gita statement. So that's okay. I'm just sharing what I see as inspirational. Again, I don't want this to be political, but the key point is that that helps, because Yatha Raja Tata Praja, as is the leader, the king, so is the Praja. This is based on the principle of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Shri Krishna says that Yad Yad Acharati Shreshtas Tattadeva Itara Janaha. Whatever leaders do, the common people follow. So of course, we can see a great growth within India of yoga, attraction towards spirituality. All these things make a lot of difference. So he spoke very well about, very gloriously about Srila Prabhupada, appreciating Srila Prabhupada's contribution. And I was listening to His Grace Gauranga Prabhu yesterday. I'm just taking a few minutes to remember and honor Srila Prabhupada before we move into Bhagavad Gita. So we will be going there. Because we must understand that all of us here are together sitting and discussing Bhagavad Gita only because Prabhupada at the age of 70, he took the trouble with 2 heart attacks to go to the West. some people think, when people want to go to America, especially in olden times, now probably, most of us have been to the US once. I have been to US, UK, Europe. So now we don't have, I mean, at least I do not have any thrill of going, anywhere or seeing anything. But there was so much attraction. Of course, even now within India, there's so much attraction among so many people. But Prabhupada never went to the West because he wanted to go to the US. I want to go and preach in the US so that I'll be in. Prabhupada was exclusively focused on his mission of sharing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada never actually did any sightseeing. In fact, there is a wonderful episode how once Prabhupada was, I think he was in Switzerland at that time. Because Prabhupada traveled the whole world 7 times, circled the globe 7 times. And practically all continents he visited, apart from Antarctica. So whenever Antarctica will be inhabited, then some of us can go reach there. But meanwhile, Prabhupada, when he was in the Switzerland, he was sitting in the train, and Prabhupada wasn't quite looking out of the window. All the devotees were very excited. They were seeing the beautiful scenery. I mean, those of you who have been to Switzerland is so exquisitely beautiful that you can, I would feel that, when I was traveling, you can look anywhere and you can take a picture, any side, any direction. You can take a picture and you can put it on the wall and it will appear like a beautiful scenery, practically. So it's quite a blessed land in that sense. Materially, of course, spiritually not so much. Prabhupada was traveling and I think it was the beautiful Alps. Devotees are telling Prabhupada, see outside, it's so beautiful. This is the beautiful Swiss Alps. So Prabhupada wasn't impressed. So some devotees asked him, so Prabhupada, what do you think of this? So Prabhupada said something to the effect, I don't remember the exact words. Prabhupada said something to the effect that this is like hell. So the point was, of course, not that Prabhupada was deriding or criticizing specifically, any place or anything like that. The point was, a person who's very advanced in spiritual consciousness is not looking for happiness and pleasure in material things. Of course, this doesn't mean we have to imitate like that. It's okay. See nice scenery and you want to go to Switzerland, that's fine as well. I'm just trying to make the point that Prabhupada did not go to the West because he wanted to, like today's so many people who want to go to the West and be in a more developed first world country. So Prabhupada went through 2 heart attacks on his way. Prabhupada only had 40 rupees. When he traveled, all he had was a chest of books. He did not have any permanent place to stay. He just had a sponsor with a 3 months visa, and he was supposed to stay with somebody, and he didn't know once he goes there what he's going to do. So he was fully depending on Krishna. And with 2 heart attacks and not quite having, it was not that, he had made a detailed plan and he had 100 people and he had all the seed funding, and whatever other sponsors backing him up to launch from nothing. Within 11 years, he had 108 opulent temples all over the world and thousands of devotees. And not just, and most of these devotees are from the Western world, from Europe, America, England, all over, who had given their life serving Krishna and preaching the message of Bhagavad Gita. So it's very amazing. Modi ji was also saying today that Atal Bihari Vajpayee had mentioned about Prabhupada that it is an amazing miracle. It's practically inconceivable what Prabhupada achieved. Because it is true that no other saintly personality has in the history of mankind has achieved this kind of a transformation. We are not just talking about a following. We are not just talking about, uh, YouTube subscribers, Facebook friends. We're not talking about those kind of followers. We are talking about people who gave up all their sinful habits, accepted the strict Vaishnava principles, accepted a strict sadhana, chanting 16 rounds every day, studying Gita, Bhagavatam, staying in the temple, sleeping on floors, and actively dedicating their life preaching Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the message of bhakti. And we're not just talking about sentimental followers who just come, and say, I follow so and so. We're not talking about that kind of followers. So it has practically never happened in the history. Now, again, of course, we are not trying to belittle anybody, but what this means is that he was very extraordinarily blessed and empowered by the Supreme Personality of God. The Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tar Pravartan. Nobody can spread the glories of chanting of Hare Krishna and the message of God, the message of pure love, especially, without being directly empowered by the Supreme Lord Himself. It is not possible. And He transformed not Indians, but He transformed people who had not even heard the word Krishna ever in their life. He made them dedicate their whole life. And 108 temples all over the world. He would practically sleep not more than 2 hours at night. You may be wondering, what did he do over the night? As all his disciples, young boys in their 20s, were so tired with their service that they were fast asleep. Prabhupada, all through the night, would sit down translating the Sanskrit scriptures into English and writing his translations and commentaries all through the night. All through the day, he would travel, preach, organize, manage. And through the night, apart from 2 hours of sleep, this he did for years and years and years. At what age? Not in the 20s. He was in his 70s after 2 heart attacks. So it is practically impossible, some of the things which he has achieved. So of course, there are so many wonderful, beautiful pastimes. So what I will humbly request all of you is, his life is a great inspiration. Sometimes when people talk about a great spiritual personality, sometimes people try to judge the greatness of the spiritual person by trying to understand what kind of miracles did he do. Can somebody produce gold from nowhere, ashes from nowhere? Can he levitate in the air? Can he disappear from one place and appear in another place? But if you deeply analyze, all these mystic powers are actually ultimately not spiritual, they are material. And as time progresses, mankind is coming closer and closer through technology to achieve many of these siddhis in a slightly different way. Correct? Previous times, yogis would be able to communicate over a long distance. Today, we can, on WhatsApp, we can communicate, just press one message all over the world. What we are doing right now is a great mystic power few thousand years ago, jointly seeing each other, talking to each other. So ultimately, all these things can be achieved by technology. So when Prabhupada was asked that, what is your miracle? So Prabhupada said that, you see all these American boys and girls, they were so addicted, all kinds of sinful activities, eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex. But they have given up all of that and accepted Krishna and dedicated their life to spreading the message of Gita. He said, that is my miracle. Because the power of the Guru is not about doing some fancy show. The power of the Guru, what is Guru? Guru means the dispeller of darkness. Guru. The word Guru has many meanings, but the main meaning is the dispeller of darkness, which means it is his power. It is a spiritual potency to inject spiritual knowledge into the heart of conditioned materialistic living entities and transform them. The power of transformation is the real measure of spiritual advancement. The more a person is spiritually advanced, he is able to transform a materialistic person into a spiritual person. Is that easy? It's not at all easy. Just try changing one person on your own. It's very, very difficult. Of course, we may bring them to the temple and they may get changed. That's a different thing. But try on your own, by your own potency, to try to do that. Then you'll realize it is not easy. Because living entities are so conditioned, so attached, without being especially pure and especially empowered. It's very, very difficult. So that is indeed the real miracle. The power to transform the hearts, the power to transform gold, to transform iron to gold. The iron-like Kali Yuga mentality into the gold-like devotional mentality based on the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So thousands and thousands and thousands, and now in lakhs. We are not talking about just followers, means, like what I said, I believe. Correct? Nowadays, in most religions, what is the meaning of the followers? Christians say, I believe in Christianity, so I'm a Christian. Muslims will say, I believe in Islam, that's why I'm a Muslim. Hindus will say, I believe in Hinduism, that's why. Whether they follow, what is their transformation, what is their sadhana, what is their purification, doesn't matter. It's just a designation. But here we are talking about people who have seriously transformed and committed thousands and thousands, and now there are in lakhs. So this shows the special, very special potency, which is manifested, which is possible only for a pure devotee. There are many others who have tried. Hardly anybody has been successful. Even amongst Prabhupada's own God brothers, many God brothers, because Bhaktivedanta Saraswati wanted Krishna consciousness to be spread all over the world, and so many of Prabhupada's God brothers who are disciples of his Guru, they tried. But most of them had very limited success in those times also. Now some of them are successful because ISKCON has become so successful and famous that ISKCON brand itself attracts so many people, and then sometimes they get attracted by other organizations. But otherwise, many other sannyasis had also traveled to the West, even before Prabhupada went, even Prabhupada's God brothers. But practically no success. One of them managed to make one disciple. Of course, we respect them. They are all great souls. This is not a criticism of them. But what we are trying to say is that it is practically impossible to achieve the kind of transformation that Prabhupada achieved. It is humanly impossible. In fact, what to speak of the transformation that Prabhupada did, in olden times, even sannyasis and sadhus were not even supposed to go outside India, because the contamination outside India and the Western world is so much that sadhus were not supposed to go there. Anyway, so that's a long story. But the point is, please read about the biography of Srila Prabhupada. There are many videos also, short videos, if you want to have a short video. There is a very detailed biography, Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit. There's also a shorter version of Prabhupada Leelamrit, which is almost like a novel in size. So you can read that. There's also a very beautiful TV series on the life of Srila Prabhupada. I think most of the episodes, if I'm not wrong, are available on YouTube. You can just look it up. It's available in English as well as Hindi, as far as I remember. It's very Abhay Charan. It's the name of the series. It's a series on the whole life of Srila Prabhupada. So it's a very, very amazing life. And you will be surprised. I think almost, if I'm not wrong, and others can correct me, the number of books or spiritual literature that has been distributed up to now, I think it's almost, Bhagavad Gita itself is in multiple crores. But all books, small books and everything put together, I think is as much as 100 crores or something like that. All over the world, in multiple languages, in 50, 60 languages. It's there in Arabic, it's there in Indonesian, Bahasa Indonesia, it is in Turkish, it's there in Arabic, it's there in Russian, Japanese, Chinese, practically all the major languages. And of course, all Indian languages as well. So it is very amazing. So it is very important for all of us to be grateful to the mercy, because we are all receiving that mercy coming down from Srila Prabhupada through his disciples, through the grand disciples. We are receiving, and we are what we are because of that mercy coming down in Guru Parampara. So when we offer proper gratitude, when we appreciate the great souls, we actually attract their mercy. In the Bhagavatam, there are many wonderful verses which emphasize that devotion to Krishna comes with the blessings of the great souls. Prahlad Maharaj says, Mahat Pada Rajobhishekam. And there are many other verses as well. So let us pray to Srila Prabhupada and express our gratitude to him. And when we pray to the great souls, of course, Krishna is very, very kind and merciful, but more kind than Krishna are Krishna's pure devotees. So one secret of making spiritual advancement is to request for blessings from the great souls, those who are pure. When we please and get the blessings of the great souls, and blessings of great souls doesn't mean that they have to put the hand on the head. That they may put, they may not put, it doesn't matter. But when we please the great souls by our sincere devotion, by our service attitude, whatever way we please them, that pleasing of the great souls brings very great blessings. And this applies even for the great souls who may have left the world, because they are still available to us because they are pure devotees. They still respond to our prayers, no matter how low we are and how insignificant we are. And even if they are in the spiritual world, that is the special potency of the great acharyas. So please take the opportunity to pray, and please maintain that attitude of gratitude so that you can actually make proper spiritual advancement. Yeah. So yes, Amit Prabhu is also reminding me. Yes, we want to congratulate Sarva Lakshmi Devi Dasi. Shalini ji, maybe you should change your name on your Zoom from Shalini ji to Sarva Lakshmi Devi Dasi. So she got her initiation, Harinam initiation from Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj day before yesterday in Ashtami. So she's an example. She got in contact with us probably eight years ago, around 8 years ago.
2013.
13, yeah. So 8 years ago, and she's been attending our classes, Gita classes, Bhagavad classes from the beginning. She has been rendering service also in various ways, taking charge of the books. Very sincere, very humble. And because of her sincerity, humility, service, simplicity, She has made a lot of advancement. She has received the blessings of the spiritual master. So that is very wonderful. So you can see, because of the connection to Prabhupada, the transformation potency is still working. Because of the connection. So even though Prabhupada may not be personally, physically on the planet, he is still there in terms of his message, his books. That potency is still active. Even if the power station is not next to us, as long as the wire is connected to our house, we can still get the current. So we have to remain connected. So congratulations to Sarva Lakshmi Devidasi. That's her new name,
Thank
new
you.
birth. You want to say something for 1 minute?
Hare Krishna, everyone. I'm most grateful to Prabhuji because when I joined Prabhuji's class, I didn't know anything about Krishna consciousness. I did not know. I was a non-vegetarian. I was like, just happy, just doing daily life, everything. But eventually, within that 1 year, I was able to chant just because with the association that I had with Prabhuji and all the devotees that came in the class. Through that association, I think, and the encouragement Prabhuji and Chandrika Mataji gave, the guidance, they made me to what I am now.
All glories to Prabhupada and
All grace to you, also.
Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. Yeah, just small instruments. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best. We also like to congratulate other devotees who received second initiation. They're already initiated Harinam. They received the second initiation, which is known as also Brahman Diksha. So we'd like to congratulate Gangotri Mataji. Also Radhika Charan Mataji, she's not here. Praneshwari Mataji is here. Congratulations to Praneshwari Mataji also. So wonderful. They have been connected and practicing Krishna consciousness for many, many years already. And they are very wonderful devotees themselves, connected here to the local ISKCON temple. So they have been blessed with second initiation by their spiritual masters, known as Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. So I'd like to congratulate them as well. Hare Krishna. So having said that, I want to move to the topic for today. I want to complete the 9th chapter, and I think we will be able to. So, as I mentioned, 9th chapter is very, very important for all of us, especially those who are practicing or endeavoring for pure devotional service. Krishna is very emphatic. Krishna calls out Ananya Bhakti very, very explicitly within the Bhagavad Gita multiple times. And in no ambiguity, the Lord is very, very explicit that only through Ananya Bhakti I can be known as I am. Only through Ananya Bhakti you can achieve my abode. You can understand me perfectly and enter my abode. So all these things are there. So while mixed bhakti may give various kinds of results, such as achieving heavenly planets if it is mixed with karma, achieving impersonal liberation if it is mixed with jnana or yoga, and bhakti which is mixed with some jnana, karma, can even give up to Vaikuntha. But if you want the highest of the highest, to achieve direct association and service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna in Goloka, if you want to be a friend to God, if you want to be a parent to God, if you want to be a lover to God, if you want intimate connection with God, then Golok Vrindavan is the place to go. If you're just happy that God is there somewhere in a palace on the planet that I am, once in a while I see him from a distance and offer obeisances and do some worship, then then Vaikuntha is fine. When Vaikuntha, one doesn't get the opportunity. Of course, Vaikuntha is very glorious, but one doesn't get an opportunity in Vaikuntha to have a personal relationship. So that is the speciality of Goloka. That you can, if you're a friend, you can put your hand around God's shoulder. You can share your tiffin box with him. You can play with him, wrestle with him. You can call him names and he will call you names. So all these sweet interactions are possible in various rasas in Goloka Vrindavan. That is why it is considered the highest, most desirable. And if you want that, Ananya Bhakti is the only way. That's why Krishna says, if you want to understand me exactly as I am, and you want to come to me, Goloka Vrindavan, you must develop Ananya Bhakti. And that is the subject matter of this chapter. So Krishna has already explained. I'm not going to revise the previous part because we are short of time. I want to try to cover the rest of the chapter. But we had covered up to verse 28. Of course, in verse 26, Krishna gave his very liberal approach to bhakti by saying, in bhakti, I'm actually interested in devotion. You can just offer me a fruit, a flower, a leaf, or even water. I will accept it if bhaktya uparatam, if you have offered it with bhakti. If you have not offered it with bhakti, no matter how much opulent the offering is, Krishna says, I'm not interested. Duryodhan ka meva tyago shag vidurgar khayo. There's a beautiful Hindi song which says that Krishna, when he went to Hastinapur, he rejected the big feast that Duryodhan had cooked for him, 56 Chappan Bhog. Duryodhan wanted to butter Krishna. This is just when Krishna had come to make the peace deal to sort things out. So Krishna told Duryodhan straight on the face, neither is there any love between us, nor am I hungry. So sorry. Please excuse me, I will not accept your invitation for lunch. I'm not in need of food and you don't love me. He was very direct with you. And he said, I want to go to the house of Vidura. So Vidura had invited him, so he went to the house of Vidura. And we know that beautiful pastime, how Vidura was not there, Vidurani was there, she was giving banana. She was so overwhelmed with love that she peeled the banana, she took out the banana, threw the banana and gave Krishna the peel. Sag Vidurgar Kaya. So she gave him the peel. And she didn't even realize what she was doing because she was so overwhelmed. Correct? Sometimes we become so overwhelmed, right? When a very great person is in front of us, we scamper around, we don't really know what to do, we fumble. So God has come to your house personally and you are offering him something. So, imagine her excitement. Her tears were coming from her eyes and she offered the banana peel. And Krishna did not bother whether it was banana or peel. He was eating the peel and enjoying it. Because Krishna is not in need of bananas. Krishna is not in need of chappan bhog. Krishna only bhavagrahi Janardhan, bhavagrahi. What he enjoys is the love. Correct? Just like a child, many of us are parents. If our children give us a gift, I'm talking about children who are not earning. If our children who are not earning give us a gift, do we look at the value of the gift? How many rupees? How much money? We may look at it, but ultimately we know that that money is coming from us only. But the point is, what we look at is how much sacrifice the child has done by giving what he had to give it for us, and that sacrifice and the affection and love with which it is offered, one can gauge the love there. So what the parent actually accepts is the love. That gift the parent can easily buy in the market. So ultimately it's a transaction of love. So the Lord owns everything. What he wants to see is how much we love. Of course, our sacrifice of what we have is definitely a measure of love. Correct? Because if our children ask us for something, we will easily give. If a neighbor asks, we will think twice whether I will give the same thing or not. Because where there is love, there is a more willingness to sacrifice. So that is Krishna's nature, and that is why Krishna says in 9.26, what I'm interested in is love, because anyway I own everything. I'm not hankering for anything. And then Krishna says, if you don't have that kind of love, still, whatever you do, somehow you connect to me. Yat karoshi yad ashnashi yad juhosi dadasi yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam. Offer everything to me. Connect whatever. That is, in that way you will become purified and develop in spiritual consciousness. 9.27. And Krishna says, if you follow this process of connecting all your activities to me, your eating, your worship, your dhan, whatever you do, whatever you eat, all connect, then you will become free from all karmic reactions. You will develop your attachment to me. You will become free from the modes of material nature, and eventually you will come from 9.27 to 9.26, where you will be able to do everything for me with love. And then we are coming now to the verse where the new verse where we are discussing, which is verse 29. After having said this, after having glorified the pure devotion and pure devotee, and how favorably the Lord is disposed towards the pure devotees. Correct? Krishna has said, in the previous verses, he has also said, oh, I take care of them. Whatever they don't have, I will give. I will protect what they have. He has given, I give them full insurance coverage. The only premium I need is Ananya Bhakti. Doesn't matter what their material qualification is. Doesn't matter whether they are rich, poor, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, man, woman, even animal. Doesn't matter. Of course, generally for animals, they don't have the consciousness that they can do, but in certain rare cases, even animals have achieved great devotional merits. Because devotion is a spiritual process. It is not a material process. So Krishna is trying to say that please understand, it may appear sometimes that I am partial. God is partial. Now this whole discussion about God, whether he's actually partial or not partial, is discussed in great detail in the Srimad Bhagavad. We will not go into that. When we come into that pastime in the Srimad Bhagavad, we'll come to that discussion. Because it appears that God is partial to this. So God fights on these people's side, he doesn't do this. And many times Krishna, Rama have been accused. Why you are siding with him? Why you are not siding with this one? As if God is partial. So the Lord explains in the next verse how he looks at things and how is he actually partial or is he not partial. So he says very beautifully, says in verse 29, Samoham sarvabhuteshu namae dveshyosti na priyah ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mahite teshu chapyaham. That Arjuna, please understand, I am equal to everyone. I have no partiality in terms of I like him and I don't like him. I don't have dvesh towards anyone. Nor do I especially favor someone out of the way. Just like when the rain falls equally everywhere. The rain doesn't decide that, okay, this is a pious man, I will only rain in the pious man's house. This person is sinful, I will not pour my water there. The rain gives rain everywhere. The sun gives sunshine everywhere. Having said this, Krishna says, but, then Krishna puts a but. But those who worship me with devotion, they are a close friend to me and I am a very close friend to them. Ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya. Tu means but those who worship me with devotion, bhajanti tu mam bhaktya, mahite, they are in me and I am in them. Why he's saying I am in them and they are in me? That is the level of intimacy of the relationship. Now from this itself, the Lord is saying that actually he is not doing any partiality. Why? Because Krishna is saying, see, I am equal to everyone. If somebody approaches me with devotion, then I also reciprocate accordingly. Then how does it become partiality? Correct? The opportunity to love Krishna is available to all. To become a friend of Krishna is available to all. Those who choose that and exercise that, they become Krishna's friend. They become close to Krishna and Krishna considers them close to him. And once he develops that relationship, of course, when you're close to somebody, it is natural that there'll be a special interaction, isn't it? Right? For example, here, actually, I'm so happy that Suyash and Amit are my dear most friends from childhood. They are my age. We are all from the same standard. Suyash is my neighbor, and Amit also doesn't stay very far in Bandra, where I come from. So we have all grown up together. So it's actually very kind of them. They are actually listening to a friend. Usually people will not listen to a friend giving class. तुमसे क्या सुनने का? I know what you did. I know all the dirty things you did. They are very kind and liberal. They are listening to me. Thank you. Because let's say I'm taking Suyash as an example, because this applies to all those who are my close friends. Just taking Suyash as an example, because I can see him, so I can see him smile also. So even though he may be nice to everybody, he's a very nice, sweet person. I know him personally so well. But when it comes to me, when I visit him, it will definitely be special. Correct, Suyash? So, it will be very special. So I can also call him ill names. He will not mind. He calls me ill names also, I will not mind. There will be something very special. So why that is a special? Is he partial to me? No, because I am affectionate to him, he is affectionate to me. There is a relationship. So there is a reciprocation, there is a relationship. But with others in general, he is nice. But he may not be close. Okay, I'm just giving a mundane example. Yeah. So God is actually the parent and the father and the supreme Lord for all living entities. From the Lord's perspective, there is no reason to choose one over the other. Because spiritually, everybody has the same spiritual potential. Everybody is Satchidananda. So God's approach is, I am equally available to you all. How many of you want to develop a relationship with me? Nobody raises their hand. Manushyanam sahasreshu kasyid yatati siddhe irtam api siddhanam kasyid mam veti tatvatah. Out of thousands and thousands of men, hardly one is interested in spiritual life. And out of those who are interested in spiritual life, hardly anybody is interested in developing a personal relationship with Krishna. What to do? Is Krishna partial? The message of the Gita is available to everybody. For example, this class, I have invited thousands of people, but we have 30 families connected here. So am I partial that I'm giving knowledge only to 30 families? I'm not partial. I'm giving the opportunity to everybody. He who takes the opportunity, they become close to me, become my friends, and I develop a relationship. So that is not partial. So that is what Krishna is saying. I am equally available to all. Don't blame me for the partiality. If Duryodhana wanted, he could have been also as close to the Lord as Arjuna. He chose not to. Lord Ram went to such great lengths to give Ravana the opportunity to become close to him, like Vibhishan. Again and again and again. I'll tell you one small pastime. Sorry, I don't think I'll be able to complete the chapter today. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So there's very, very sweet pastime. I want to mention this. This is from Ramayana. Very wonderful. When we hear about the character of Lord Ramchandra, I feel dizzy. So amazing, Lord Ramchandra. Of course, Krishna is the Purna Purushottam. So all qualities of Ram are within Krishna. But sometimes in some Leelas, some qualities come out very strongly and beautifully. So I want to mention this very beautiful pastime. Who was this who was speaking? Was it Jambavan? I don't recollect. But one of Lord Ramchandra's very close associates, when Lord Ram came to the southern tip of India and he was about to cross over to Lanka, then there's this whole episode happened. Very beautiful pastime. I think I should mention this. So Vibhishan came over. You all know, right? Vibhishan was amongst all those who rejected God. Vibhishan was the one person who was devoted to God. So he came over and he surrendered to Lord Ram. So Sugriv, Hanuman, Jambavan, Angad, all were there. And when he came and surrendered to Lord Ram, everybody was concerned whether we should accept Vibhishan or not accept. He's brother of Ravan. You don't know whether he's coming to actually be a friend or to find out about you by entering your party and destroy it from inside. Correct? Yeah. Correct. Like right now, this whole episode in Afghanistan, people don't know whether to trust Taliban or to not trust Taliban. I hope this news doesn't go to them. I'll be in trouble. But that's the thing, right? You don't know what they're speaking. They'll say today one thing, they may not fulfill it. So don't know where to trust. He's from the Rakshas school. He's the brother of Ravan. So they were all warning. So I'm going to cut down a lot of details. There are a lot of details in this story. But you can look this up. You'll probably find it somewhere on the net. So to cut a long story short, most of them said, no, I think it was Hanuman, if I'm not wrong, said that, no, you should consider him. So finally, Lord Ram told his opinion. He said, yes, I will accept. And then he says, of course, a very beautiful verse that whosoever it be, Sakrudeva praponnosmi. When once he comes to me and says, Tava asmi iti yachate. And he says to me that I am, sincerely says, not just says like a filmy dialogue, but sincerely says, oh Lord, from this day I am yours. Lord Ram says, it is my vow. I will accept him without any consideration of his background and what he has done. No consideration. And from that day, I will protect him. After that, after some time, even if he forgets what he had told to God, he says, no, Lord, sorry, that day I had said I will surrender to you sincerely, but I think now I want to change my mind. But Ram doesn't change his mind. Once I accepted him, I've accepted him. Sincerely, if somebody offers. Because the Lord knows the power of Maya is so strong. Even after sincerely coming to the Lord, the living entity's buddhi may become brushed. So the Lord is so kind. He says, once you sincerely say, then I don't leave you. Even if you try to leave me, I don't leave you. So that is the Lord's compassion. So having said that, Lord Ram says an amazing thing. He says, he tells to Sugriva, Hanuman and others, he says, please understand what to speak of Vibhishan. If Ravan were to come now and to say to me, I am sorry, I am surrendering, and he hands Sita back, I will forgive everything he has done. Not only will I forgive everything that he has done, but I can even go beyond that. So when this whole thing is happening, there's something very interesting that happens. I think it was Hanuman or was it Jambavan? One of them asked Lord Ramchandra, oh Lord Ram, you have promised. That's a very interesting question. Please listen attentively. It's a very, very interesting point. Says, oh Lord, just now, after you accepted Vibhishan, after having said all these shlokas, you accepted Vibhishan and you promised Vibhishan you promised Vibhishan that I will give the kingdom of Lanka to you after I take it from Ravan. Correct? And Lord Ram's word once given is given. So they put him a quiz question to Lord Ram. So the quiz question to Ram is, imagine, O Lord Ram, if now Ravan were to come to you and say, I'm sorry, I beg forgiveness, like what you just said, but then you have to give shelter to him like what you just now said. Then what will you do? Because you have already promised the kingdom of Lanka to Vibhishan. If Ravan comes and surrenders to you, what will you do? Amazing, huh? So Ramchandra says, if that happens, that Ravan also surrenders to me, then what I will do is I will give the kingdom of Lanka to Vibhishan, and I will give the kingdom of Ayodhya to Ravan. And Lord Ram means everything he says. He is not a politician who just speaks. He says, if Ravan surrenders to me sincerely, I will. And not only will I give him the kingdom of Ayodhya, I will personally protect him and make sure he remains the king. Then they said, oh Lord, but Bharat is the king of Ayodhya. How can you give the kingdom of Ayodhya to Ravan? Then what will you do with Bharat? He says, if that happens, that I have to give the kingdom of Ayodhya to Ravan, then I will give the kingdom of Vaikuntha to Bharat. He says, oh, you will give the kingdom of Vaikuntha to Bharat? Then where will you stay? You have given up your spiritual world, your spiritual kingdom. So Lord Ram says, if that happens and Vaikuntha is given there, then no problem. I will stay in the heart of Hanuman and enjoy chanting and and glorification that Hanuman does. I have no problem. So that is the character of the Lord. So the problem is never with the Lord. Even Ravana, the Lord is willing to accept. The problem is people are not willing to approach him. Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyasya na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya nahi te teshu chapyam. So there are so many beautiful pastimes like this in Krishna Leela, Ram Leela, which actually reveal the heart of the Lord. So the Lord is extremely, extremely kind and affectionate. So if you make an endeavor to develop a relationship with the Lord, you can actually personally experience, even at our level, that reciprocation with the Lord. And that reciprocation of the Lord is sometimes so amazing, so amazing, so amazing that sometimes we will become embarrassed. That the Lord is so kind and affectionate, far, far beyond our qualifications or deserving. Because that is the nature of the Lord. That is why the Lord is especially famous as Bhakta Vatsal. So we have covered only one verse, Hare Krishna. So I proposed and God disposed. But never mind. So the Lord probably wanted his glories of his nature to be extolled. So it's okay. I hope you found it enjoyable and relishable. So ultimately, why we are describing all this? Describing all this is for the simple reason that we all understand and appreciate how we will never ever be the losers if we develop devotion for the Lord. We develop even a little bit relationship with the Lord. We take one step towards the Lord takes 100 steps towards us. So one will never ever be a loser. Remember, In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has already said, if you take to devotion and you fail miserably, if you take to devotional sincerely and practice spiritual life for some time and then you give up because of your material mindedness, so basically it means you failed. You joined the college and then after one semester you said, I don't want to do this course, bye bye, you ran away. If you fail, you go to heaven. If you fail in bhakti, you go to heaven. Okay, so that is the glory. Because we are not interested, but what other people do so much punya, yajna, tapa, dana to go to heaven. That same heaven can be achieved those who fail in bhakti. So what I'm trying to mention, I hope you understand the point. The point is the glory of bhakti is so great. So there is never any loss. So please take this process seriously. Of course, keep attending the classes, but also chant regularly the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So remain in the association of devotees, like Sarva Lakshmi Mataji shared, and that is the truth for all of us, for me, for all of us, that when we remain in the association of devotees, things which appear impossible to do from a spiritual practice perspective become very easily possible. I mean, what I am doing today, if somebody had told me 20 years ago that you will be doing this, I would have laughed at that person and said it's impossible. This will never happen. It will never happen for 10 lifetimes. But that is possible through the blessings of the Lord, through spiritual master, the devotees. So very extraordinary things happen in our lives. So it's my humble request, if you're not making an endeavor to perform devotional service, perform some sadhana of bhakti, so please do so. It's very simple. 9th chapter especially, the Lord says, Susukham kartum avyayam. Very joyfully perform. And avyaya is what we just discussed, that is never destroyed. Even a little progress will remain with us eternally. So anyway, never mind. So we will aim to complete the chapter next Wednesday, Krishna willing. And I'll just open up the floor for questions. But just before I mention the questions, I again want to mention, I mentioned this to some of you. So the others can see that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 devotees who have turned their video on. So if you are surprised why they have turned on, the reason is that at the beginning of the session, I requested that, wherever possible, unless you are in a very odd situation, on the move, and whatever other things where you just cannot turn your video on, my request is that you all turn the video on. To say the least, it is the respectful thing to do. And the second thing is, it also helps us to connect and see each other, and in that way also it will be mutually beneficial. Also, sometimes I can see your reactions, and that also enthuses me. If you're sleeping also, I can realize that I'm speaking something which is boring all of you. So again, this is not an instruction that you must do. So please don't disappear from the class because, oh, Prabhuji told me turn the video on, so this is my last class. After this, I'm not attending. So that is not the idea. If there is a genuine reason where you don't want to do, I will respect that. But then wherever possible, as far as possible, Of course, for a short while, if you are having to step out or do something, you can temporarily turn off the video, do the needful, come back, and turn it on when you are comfortable back again. But that will remain my request. So for those who joined in late, just a refresher of this message. So I'm opening up the floor. Any questions, any comments, or anybody wants to share anything with respect to Janmashtami, Prabhupada Appearance Day, initiations, anything?
Just want to ask, what is second initiation?
Hare Krishna. That's a long question with a long answer. So very briefly, I'm going to answer. So if you have a question on my answer, we can discuss it separately. I think you know more or less, but there are two steps in the initiation process. One step is where the spiritual master gives the holy name. That is the first initiation. And the second step is where the devotee becomes more purified, more fixed up in spiritual practice. Then he's also given mantras by which the devotee can perform deity worship, and mantras for meditation by which the devotee can achieve Krishna Prem faster and sooner. So why those mantras are not given earlier? Because without being sufficiently purified, it will not be possible to invoke the potency of those mantras properly. So first, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one has to purify himself. Of course, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra by itself is sufficient, but all these other mantras are supporting mantras to. It's like a catalyst, make us achieve Krishna Prem faster and chant holy name in a pure way faster. That's the point.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
For more information, contact Gangotri Mataji, Praneshwari.
Sure.
Hare Krishna.
Right.
Any other questions?
Hare Krishna. I had one question.
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to know these people like Kamsa, Duryodhan, Dhritarashtra, are they also eternal associates of the Lord because they appear with him in all the pastimes? They have meaning. I mean, they have such a close interaction with the Lord. So are they really advanced souls, or are they really sinful people? How do we understand these personalities?
Yeah. So we wouldn't know unless it is revealed in the scriptures or by the acharyas, because otherwise externally it is not possible. For example, based on the Bhagavad, we know that Kamsa, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu, they were all Jai Vijay from the spiritual world. So we know that they came for Leela. So for some characters, play the role of a demon. It is mentioned and explained either by Shastra or by self-realized souls. Know who is who. Because when you are at that platform, you know behind the scenes what is happening. But otherwise, we don't speculate. This discussion about Dhritarashtra was not a pure devotee. He achieved liberation, impersonal liberation. He's not from the spiritual world. There is debate about Duryodhan, but there are references by acharyas to Duryodhan being a amsha of Kali. So he's demoniac. But then some people wonder, oh, then why did he get special close association of Balaram and all these things? So the point is that sometimes we get bewildered by those who seemingly are close to God, or in this world, in our current situation, seemingly close to Guru. So that by itself is not the criterion to judge one's advancement. Like Prabhupada would say, right, there's a mosquito sitting on my skin, so he's closest to me. Does it mean he's taking my association? No. And Krishna said the same thing to the Dvijapatnis. Remember, we discussed this a few classes ago. He told the same thing. You want to be with me, you want to come with me, you want to give up everything and come. But that is not the way of devotion. Do you think just by being near me, you will achieve devotion? You will achieve devotion by coming together and chanting and hearing and practicing sadhana. In that way, you can feel my presence always independent of where I am. will always remain connected to me. So Krishna, that was Krishna's instruction to the Dvijapatis. So sometimes we get, the thing is, Krishna can be next to us standing in his form. But if we are not pure devotees, Krishna's form is covered by his Yogamaya potential. One cannot access Krishna by physical proximity. What to talk of physical proximity? Krishna is in our heart. Is it making us a pure devotee instantly? It's not. Correct? Krishna is in our heart. Yeah. Why? Because Krishna reciprocates according to our intention. We don't want him. So Krishna is not reciprocating. So ye yathamam prapadyante tam satya vajamya. So why I'm mentioning this is, of course, we want Krishna's association. We want also to be physically. But the point is, simply being physically close is not it. That's why in our parampara, we do not give so much emphasis to darshan of God. So many other schools, they say, I want God's darshan, I want God's darshan. That is the ultimate. You say, okay, you saw God, so what? You want to put on Facebook, I saw God. I took a picture with God and see it's on my DP. What did you do after you saw God? Did you surrender to him? Did you give your life to him? Or did you just take a picture to put on your DP and said bye-bye? So the point is about developing a relationship. And God, because he's the source of everything and because he's present everywhere, even though he's in his abode, God is accessible everywhere, in any place, any time, to anyone, instantly. That's the special position of God. So that's why we don't give that much emphasis to the external darshan of God. What we appreciate more based on Gita and Bhagavad message is who is engaged selflessly in the service of God, who is enjoying hearing the pastimes of the Lord, who is enjoying chanting the names of the Lord. That is how we judge who is most attached. Vasudeva and Devaki are such great devotees. How much time did they spend with Krishna? Very little. So there are many such great devotees. So anyway, so I think you got the point. So yes, Duryodhan is not. I mean, as far as I have heard, some of these things, there may be multiple opinions, but he's said to be a Amsha of Kali. But we can understand his special closeness based on, sometimes demons are also included as part of the drama. There's obviously some. But just because God is around them doesn't necessarily mean they get. If you are close to God, but if you are offending him, if you are close to God physically, but you are offending his devotees, trying to kill them continuously, what benefit do you think you will get? Correct? That was the nature of Duryodhana. Yes, I see a hand raised, Aruna Bhaskaranji. Is that a hand raised for a question? Okay, the hand went down. So I'm assuming that was by mistake. And there's a question. Any other questions or comments?
Okay, Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, there is Sundar Prabhu.
Prabhu, I just wanted to share one point about Prabhupada.
Yeah, sure.
Before he kind of went to the best, I believe one of his god brother was kind of telling him, since he's going to the best, he has to learn how to use the knife, fork and spoon, and all those things. I think Prabhupada's answer was that I'm going to the West to give, not to take. So I just wanted to just mention about this thing. That means Prabhupada basically, his intention was to just give it. I mean, they didn't want to take anything from them, but he kind of basically went there to what give them, as you were telling.
Correct, correct.
Thank
So
you.
Prabhupada did not wear suit and tie, rather he made them wear dhoti and kurta. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, very nice point. Yeah. So the great devotees, they want to give what they have to others. They are not going there to become like them. Thank you. Very nice. Any other points? Okay, so thank you all very much. I also see there's Rishank Chi also has joined, so we welcome you. Anybody else who's come for the first time? Okay, Haribol, Ananda Sundari Maharaj. Hare Krishna. All wonderful, great devotees. Hari Hari. So thank you all very much. So Ekadashi is on Friday, not tomorrow. So observe Ekadashi, and so I'll see you on Saturday. We'll continue with our Bhagavatam discussions. So as requested, next time maybe you want to dress up in a way that you want to put the video on, and that will be good. Or the trick is put your video in such a way that I can only see up to here. That's another trick we do. That's also possible. But yeah, of course, with if you are in a position that you need to turn it off, then that's understood as well. Okay, so thank you all very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhakta. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.